to give you a couple of tactics that you can take and hopefully bring to life as a practitioner to start to make this thing happen. I have this on my slide share, and you're going to get the access to the deck as well, but I love the decorazzi when the decorazzi comes out, so because then I know which slides are really hitting home. The decorazzi, it's like the paparazzi, but when they take pictures of your deck, so. All right. Someone in the back just got it. All right. So my first tactic to you, and I'm going to make these are pretty bold charges to you, but you're change practitioners, and you came to a half a day about being courageous. And so I'm charging you with having the courage to do some of these things. The first is to start asking the hard questions. Remember these guys, Bob and Bob? What would you say you do here? So this is my challenge to you. Put your picture right there and start asking the question, what would you say we're actually trying to achieve here? Right? Start asking the question of the changes that you are engaged on and supporting. Don't let them chase aspirations. Really start to hone in on and ask the question what we're trying to achieve. And I love the Eugene Ionesco quote, right? It's not the answer that enlightens, but the questions. And so to be a courageous change agent, go out and start asking the questions. And they can be these seemingly ignorant questions, like what are we actually here doing? Now, a lot of times, though, when you start asking this question, it feels like you need a body of armor, right? Because that's a tough question to start to ask. What is our finish line? What does done mean? What does success actually mean? How will we know if this actually delivered what we expected to deliver? But I'm going to offer you this challenge. I'm using the John Lewis version here. If not us, then who? If not now, then when? You know, Hillel the Elder said this 2,000 years before this, pretty much the same way. But that's the charge to you. And that's why I think change management has such an amazing seat at the table to improve the outcomes of change in organization. Because we don't have the 60-year history of defining success by on time, on budget, meeting technical requirements like some other disciplines do. We get to walk in with a little bit of naivety and start to say, delivering meaningful results and outcomes is what this discipline is about. Tell me what those results and outcomes are for this project so I can help you deliver them. So that's my charge to you. Ready? Tactic 1 is start asking those hard questions. Tactic 2 is really starting to clarify expected outcomes. And this is your ability to try to address the chasing of aspirations, the definition difficulty. I've laid it out in some of the work that we're doing in terms of these kind of two components. Any project needs to have organizational benefits and project objectives. It needs to have the what's in it for the organization, what Thomas is alluding to, what's the organization actually trying to get out of this, and how are we going to measure, what are we going to measure to know if we've gotten there. This is the foundation of the new change scorecard we just rolled out. It's the foundation of a talk that I'm giving to the Boys and Girls Club of America. I gave it to them last May, and the talk hit so home that they said come back and do it again at next year's conference. And it was really around this. What is the organizational outcomes? What are the project objectives? The organizational benefits, the project objectives. Start asking the question. The neat thing about the change scorecard is that it gets to start to be the bad guy. So it's going to take you some courage to ask the question, but when you have it framed in this new change scorecard, you get to say, you know, sorry, I got this change scorecard, the upper right corner says what are the actual results and outcomes, I need to have something to put in there, and you get to start to pull and see with the leadership teams, with the project teams, what these things actually mean. Yogi Berra tells us if you don't know where you're going, you might wind up someplace else. And that happens all the time in organizational change. So have the courage to start asking the questions and to then clarify what we're actually trying to get out of these change initiatives. And it matters. This is from my 2016 benchmarking report, so the 2015 data set. 1,120 change practitioners around the world, only 35% of them are in the US. So this is about as global display of data as you're going to find in the change management space. There is a direct correlation between how well we articulate what we're trying to achieve and the actual success of our projects. So that's tactic 2, clarify expected outcomes. Tactic 3 is to extend your time horizon, and this gets to the point that Marianne and Roger already brought up. You already got this visual, right? Is it the flipping of the switch, or is it the actual finish line we're trying to get to? Done is not launch. Done is not launch. And you, as courageous change practitioners, are the ones that can get out there and start to extend that time horizon and say, when are we actually going to get results and benefits and value for the organization? Extend the time horizon and be courageous to say, when are results actually going to start to happen? My fourth tactic is to start to bring people into the equation. Because again, this Creasey is a change management company. This is what I spent the last 15 years researching and developing on, right? Is the people side of change. So, and Thomas already told you, right? Reminded you of GE, Jack Welch, effectiveness equals quality times acceptance. This is the way we position this. We call this the unified value proposition. Successful change occurs when we have designed, developed, and delivered an effective technical solution, and that solution is embraced, adopted, and used by impacted employees. That's where results, outcomes, and success come from. And again, this is the Darrell Connor language, right? This is the gap between the right hand and the left hand of the slide that we saw earlier, is the embracement, adoption, and usage of solutions by people who have to do their jobs differently. Because Vince Lombardi tells us the achievements of the organization are the results of the combined effort of each individual. Now you know what Creasey's color is? Our branding color? Yeah, it's like that bright purple. So I used to have this on a big purple slide with this quote. Purple is also the color of the Minnesota Vikings. Vince Lombardi was the coach of the Green Bay Packers. And I had an actual doctor almost come across the table to punch me in the face when I was up in Wisconsin presenting this slide. So I had to change it to a picture of Lombardi, but this is reality, right? Organizational benefits, project outcomes, program outcomes are the cumulative result of our ability to help each individual through the personal change journey they experience. Because that's typically how we envision organizational change, right? The workforce management system we're implementing, the new CRM system, the ERP, but this is the reality of change. That it happens a single person at a time. Andy, Becky, Charlie, and Debbie are the ones who have to actually change how they do their jobs. And if they don't, anybody been a part of one of these projects? Yeah. And then what about one of these projects? Or they got to the future state and then they all start to back up. And that has consequences because adoption and usage of change has a direct and concrete impact on the outcomes and the value that you bring to life in your organization. That's how your commitment to outcomes is supported by your change management discipline and practice. Because driving adoption and usage is how we get those results and outcomes. Creasey's research data tells us concretely in a data format that this correlation is true. That's the correlation of change management effectiveness to success rates on the project. That's the correlation to staying on schedule based on how well you manage the people side of change. So you ever run into a project manager that says, that stuff sounds great, however, I have a deadline. I can intuitively understand why they might say that paying attention to people slows down a project, but the data, this is 2,000 data points. And here's 2,000 more data points that says our ability to stay on budget directly correlates with how well we equip and prepare and support people through change. Because you might run into another project manager that says, that stuff all sounds good, but got a budget. What this is telling us is you will pay for change management. Yeah, you will. You'll either pay for it up front to be thoughtful and intentional about it, or you're going to pay for it at the back end. With those two really costly letters in the project world. You know what they are? R and E. Retrain, rescope, revisit, redo, retreat, resign, reassign, right? Those two costly letters come to life on projects when we don't help people understand what it's going to mean to them to be part of this change coming to life. Even my 7-word definition of change management that I started putting out there, catalyzing individual transitions to deliver organizational results, has organizational results sitting right at the bottom of it. The people side of change directly drives the outcomes and value you can bring in change in your organization. So that's my recap of your 4 tactics. Ask the hard questions, clarify expected outcomes, extend your time horizon, bring people into the equation.